Greetings once again from Snakemountainboatworks on Friday, May 18, 2018. John and I have so far been focusing on staining the tow rails and other deck and interior parts on the 1957 23-foot Lyman Runabout. And John's about to flip to the other side of this door and he can fill you in on exactly what this process is like.
Before I flip the door, I was standing the inside of this door right here and I noticed that the rag doesn't get into the inside corner, so I take a chip brush, spread my stain inside to get it all nice and solid so I don't have any clear wood still showing. And then also notice that around the edge of the cutout for the emblem here, the little anchor emblem, it's hard to get in around the edges of the plywood with the rag also, so I have to detail it with a chip brush to make sure I get all the edges. And then this stain here, of course, like we were saying, it goes on in a circular motion and fills, that way it fills all the little divots and the cracks. Even though it's not a filler stain, you still have to get in everywhere or else you'll have little white pieces of wood showing inside of the grain here, which this is all nicely covered. And then this other board that I've already done shows the nice rich color of the stain that we're using. So there I'm going to flip this board and do the back side of it. We're just using rags for putting the stain on. And like I said, I go in a circular motion and I make sure that all the grain is full even though it's not a filler stain, because it just wouldn't look really fantastic.
The white speckles are not our goal?
No. A nice solid stain. After you go circular motion, you can wipe it in with the grain and make sure you get 100% coverage. And if you aren't real careful, stain flies, so you might get the board beside you if you aren't real careful. But this stain really does work nice. Your arms do get heavy after putting the stain on, but not as heavy as when they're using the filler stain. Sometimes it feels like your arms are going to fall right off after you're done. And they probably won't ever fall off, but sure does feel it that way sometimes.
We'll add a couple short sections of king plank here for a little show and tell. Boy, that ribbon cut really comes through nicely with this Jel'd stain. The one negative of using this stain, as the fellow who introduced it to us shared, is that because it's not a filler stain, the reality is it'll probably take 2 or 3 more coats of varnish to fill those valleys than would be the case with a filler stain, where if you do it properly, at least partially those valleys in the wood grain are full. So now we've got the doors, the tow rails, the king plank, the control panel up in the helm station for the gauge cluster, all stained. And from here we will go find RJ, who has begun staining the aft deck. So again, you can see RJ is using the same technique. What's your reaction, RJ, to the terry cloth now that you've used it some?
Works pretty good for this stuff, definitely.
Right.
Because you don't have to necessarily wipe it off exactly clean. And when you get done, I'll go over it with a new cloth and it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, we've done some experimental panels before we started applying the stain to somebody's boat. I'm sure our Lyman family would be aghast to think that its boat had become a lab rat. And another difference from a filler stain is that you just don't really scrub it the way you must scrub a filler stain, especially as it begins to flash.
Put it on and then...
And you would never do what RJ is doing right now with a filler stain. Because with a filler stain, your goal is to leave copious amounts of stain in the wood grain valleys. And here, since this is a stain that primarily sits on the surface, our goal is to remove the excess. We'll fill those valleys with Clear Penetrating Epoxy Sealer, at least 3 coats, and then we'll start building coats of varnish. How do you like that? We have her fully stained. All the parts and pieces. We still have the windshield frame waiting for us to bleach and then stain. We will let this stain sit through the weekend before we begin sealing it with Clear Penetrating Epoxy Sealer. But I think you have to agree that she is just lovely. What a transformation from albino to fully stained in Lyman mahogany red. We just love the uniformity of this Jel'd stain, which is so much easier to accomplish than with a filler stain. So, as our week begins approaching the weekend, and the 1957 23-foot Lyman yacht tender is stained, the bulkhead is stained. What a nice milestone to have disappearing into our wake. Thank you so much. Bye-bye for now from Snakemountainboatworks.